Yeah, I'll do it in my other computer.
Sure.
I haven't
All
migrated
right.
my.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mindgasms. I'm going to talk to Drew Sample today from the Sample Hour, of course, and from Mixed Mental Arts. And we're going to talk about topics like mixed mental arts and probably also anime and Black Panther and some politics too. So,
Yeah.
you want to start off by introducing yourself to everyone who, for those people who don't know you?
Sure. Yeah. I've been around the podcast world. This is my 6th year. I don't really like the term pod fade because I've been doing it for 6 years, but I've taken breaks from time to time. Actually, since I started my business, I've taken breaks. So I'm a small scale farmer. That's how I make my income. I taking breaks. I'm on a fifth. There's some feedback coming from somewhere. I could hear an echo. Okay, I think it's gone now. So yeah, so there's I've taken some breaks just because I was starting my business and I needed to pay attention to my business because it was when you go to work on a job in podcasting to building a business in podcasting, you have to, I don't know, just the business had to take precedence over the podcast. And also, most of my podcast at the time was about figuring out how to quit the rat race, and then I quit the rat race. So it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now? Like, how do I keep the podcast relevant? How do I keep it? How do I keep it so I still enjoy doing it? So that's kind of it. So I mean, I'm on a 15th of an acre. Um, I have a farm manager that I got to shout him out, Rich Fratzel, who pretty much is what allowed me to be able to do this full time, because I was pretty crappy when it came to just staying disciplined in certain aspects of my life, especially when it came to planting. Like for anybody that's ever read the E Myth, I kind of had the opposite problem. Um, and what I mean by that is the E Myth is a book about there's a baker. It's like the case studies this baker who's awesome at making pies and thinks that her pies are what's going to drive the business, but she doesn't necessarily take it. She doesn't necessarily do a good job of uh, doing the other aspects like the sales and the marketing. And so for me, like I had a sales background. I've been in sales for like 10 years and did telecom sales, which is pretty cutthroat. It's, what have you done for me lately? I was one of those dudes in a mall who you're not worried about doing that on the
No,
tubes. Like you're not worried they're going to
it's
pull you
legal here.
down. Oh
I'm
shit.
in Canada, man.
Look at you. So so I was, so that was kind of it. So for me, my issue wasn't necessarily the sales aspect. It was keeping production going. So I was doing a good job of not knowing how to. I had ideas of how to put things together. Then Rich moved in, and Rich really just helped me grow up a lot. He's older than me, and he helped me grow up and kind of realize this is kind of you've been fucking up. And can I cuss?
Yeah, of course. I
Okay.
do all the time.
All right. So he'd help me realize that. So big shout out to Rich Fratzel. Teamwork makes the dream work. Him and I, it honestly, like I would say that I think we have the best microgreens. I'll put for what we do and what we sell. I mean, I put my business up against anybody. But actually most of my mentors were from Canada. So
Oh, cool.
big shout out to Curtis Stone and Chris Thoreau. So they're in BC. And so that's kind of been it. But I've done a lot of things. I actually I'm a minority owner in some comedy clubs in Toronto, and there's one in Niagara Falls. So
Oh, cool.
I had a background of being a promoter. One thing that I was desperately trying to figure out with my last corporate America job was having a good job, business to fall back on, which is, I think, more people that would think like I need to have a business to fall back on, the better off a lot of people would be, because the whole idea of having a degree to fall back on is, to me, just a myth and a fiction. You have to have tangible skills, and so that's kind of where I come from. So, are you still there? Am I carrying this live stream now? It's just your photo now.
No, I got one of us got cut out for a second. I'm good now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, is there a link for me to share? Is that in the chat?
Yeah, I send it to you in the chat.
All right. Um, I don't see it, man. What a way for me to sandbag this conversation. You sent it to me. Did you send it? You sent it in the Google chat?
Yeah.
It's not showing up. Oh, hold
No?
on. No, I saw you send it to me. Then I went to go look at it, and all it says is you are in this video call.
I'll try sending it again.
Yeah, do you want to send it to me through Facebook? Maybe that'll help, and I'll tweet this out.
Sure.
But so that's kind of my thing in a nutshell. Like I mean, I'm a big advocate of using the internet correctly, so you make friends online, and then from having friends online, mate them in the real world. So I mean, so I was always about community. So we first kind of got started with Death Squad, and we were big Rogan fans back in the day. And Red Band is from Columbus, so they had a show coming, and my good buddy Jason and this other guy Bender threw this big party, which people from all over North America came to, which was pretty cool to see Joey Diaz and Red Band live. And this was back in 2012.
Oh,
and
cool.
So from there, we just started. We'd have like events and stuff like that, and then I kind of fizzled out just because we started doing our own shows, and we did a bunch of shows in Toronto. And big shout out to Joe Tuchito in the Corner Comedy Club. So in Toronto, and then there's one at Niagara Falls too. So we done that. We kind of built these online communities into real world, and then from there, I liked hearing Hunter on. I enjoyed hearing Hunter Motz on Rogan, and so I reached out to him and wanted to just kind of network with him and get to know him. And so from there, like we eventually started. Adam Henson came and he wanted to do a Columbus meetup because he was coming to Columbus, and apparently there was a lot of us in Columbus. And so that was kind of how I got involved in mixed mental arts. Was just we started having monthly meetups, and I started having invites in the mixed mental arts group. And then that kind of evolved because we all went to a weekend of Thaddeus Russell because I'm good friends with Brett Fanoff from School Sucks podcast.
Oh, sweet.
So we did a big meetup there, and then we all went out to three of us went out from Columbus, went to a weekend with Thaddeus Russell, and then Hunter had actually come earlier in the summer, and he had stayed at my house, and we did a big meetup there. So yeah, man, I'm all about community. I think community is something that we all want, we all need, and I disagree with a lot of people politically in mixed mental arts, but at the same time, man, it's like that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah, that would be boring.
Yeah, man, nor do I want to. Like, I agree, it'd be super boring. So,
yeah, I've been wanting to like actually I probably will pretty soon actually meet like at least a few of the people from mixed mental arts in real life. I'm gonna meet Alex Bello and Adam Hansen, and probably also Tim Keefe pretty soon.
Oh yeah, Tim's my boy. So Tim, I started messing with Tim because Charles Hugh Smith. I'm the one that I'm gonna pat my own back. I added Tim into the mixed mental arts group.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Tim stayed with me a few times because he's originally from Canton, and so Tim, he's come and stayed with me a few times. He's been on my show a few times. I'm good.
Oh,
Tim's a great dude, man, and he's a smart guy too. And it's
I've done like several episodes with him now on my podcast about a bunch of different kinds of philosophy, and him and me, and like him and a few other people too. Like I'm doing a few with him and Shane Kennedy. I'm probably gonna do one with them and Hayden Bruce at least at some point too.
That's cool. I don't know who any of those people are. I feel like a
Oh,
jerk.
Shane Kennedy is a guy who lives in Ontario who he works with startups and he's a big fan of philosophy and he's
Did he have
pretty
him on a show where they talked for 3 hours about postmodernism? Who was that?
um that was James Sullivan.
James Sullivan. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Shane Kennedy also he's really Christian and he's a big fan of Jordan Peterson too.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Hayden Bruce has the Pragmatic Christian podcast. So he tries to like merge his Christianity with philosophical pragmatism.
Okay. I don't know
Yeah.
what philosophical pragmatism is. I don't pretend to know things that I don't. Is
Oh,
that
okay.
that sounds like a very smart topic.
It's like it was started by William James and one other guy whose name is escaping me right now, but in the 19th and 20th century, and it's kind of about doing like acting based on what makes sense and what is pragmatic is what you should do, and there's even like a pragmatic theory of truth, like what is pragmatic is what is true, which is an interesting philosophical discussion that Hayden and I get into because I think that's a good idea, but not all the time.
Yeah, I think you just got to listen to your intuition. I think that's the biggest thing for me is, one thing why I started farming was I was tired of just bitching about the things that I was against, and I decided that it was going to be important for me to live life in a way to show what I was about. So like for me, my politics is my lifestyle. Like, I definitely fall more on the anarchist spectrum and decentralization and I guess even libertarian. But I don't want to be put in any box. I think it all depends. I think that was one of the things I liked about Hunter was because Hunter refused to be put in an ideology. And one thing he said to me early on when I first started hanging out with Hunter was, I don't consider myself left or right. I'm more up and down. And I would say I'm similar. Like I don't it's just one of those things, man. Like I think my politics changed, especially once I became a landowner. And then I started to take a lot more responsibility. And that was something Rich helped me out a lot with too. Because Rich is all about land and regenerating land and super into permaculture. And I really liked that. And I wanted to aspire to be more like that. And so, he started cleaning up our alleys and started planting plants in our alleys because people, in urban America, people just treat the poor parts of it like it's a dumpster. So people come down our alleys, they dump trash when it's like, hey, assholes, the city will come and pick stuff up for free if you just put it on the front. If you just put it in front of your house or in front of a house you're cleaning out, which is usually what it is. So a lot of these houses go abandoned and they get like my house was abandoned for like 8 years before I moved into it.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so it's one of those things that um I think Rich just gave a shit. And one time, something that he'd said to me, he was cleaning the alley, and I was kind of beaten down. I tried doing this community garden when when I first moved here. I wanted to have a community garden, and it was all about mainly my ego. Like, oh, I want to go in there and teach inner city people how to grow food and just all the romantic bullshit. Like, oh, there's food forests or food deserts, and I want to, get rid of the food desert and to help people. But they didn't care. People were just using that land as trash. And I caught a dude dumping on. I'm like, yo, why are you dumping on this land here? Like, I'm responsible for this. So I had to pay the city $10, and all they did was harass me. And then all the people around it just treated it like a dumpster still. After I spent like 8 hours cleaning it, and I was just like, man, I need to just work on my own land.
That
And
makes
then
sense.
so we started developing my own land, and it was mainly Rich who just, had a design and we implemented it. And that first year is mainly him because I was kind of being a child. And there's just certain things like I had issues with because to me, I didn't want to own a job. And I was so focused on not owning a job that I missed the part. A big part of starting a business early on is you got to work a lot, man. You got to put in a lot of hours before you can turn it into an income stream. That's something me and Chris, the dairy farmer from New Zealand, Chris, I can't think of his last name. I feel like an asshole. It was something me and Chris talked a lot about. Was he goes, you should try to have a business run itself within 1,000 days. So we're trying to get as many aspects of it. I mean, for the most part, Rich and I do the things we enjoy doing. And then, I started hiring somebody else to do a lot of shit I don't like to do. So there's like this aspect of, I think, I feel like everybody wants to have this online business so they can be away from having employees and everything. But it's like, not everyone should do that. I mean, you need to have real life stuff too. Like you want to take ownership in your community and you want to be, a lighthouse for people to help them out and give them jobs and maybe have conversations with them that they're not used to having. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, I think, having Rich here is super helpful, but I mean, we're still growing this and it's still like we're going into our third season and there's a lot of work that needs done, man. And it can be overwhelming, but there's stuff we need to sell. There's stuff we need to reorganize and, man, but it's all good. I mean, I'm selling to close to 30 restaurants across the city. My business is cash flowing. My business pays for everything. So it's been a cool experience and we're making a difference here in the community. Like the neighborhood's getting better.
That all sounds like a really great experience, man. And it sounds like you have really admirable intentions too. And I'm working on starting a business right now too with someone else, and I'm discovering what you mentioned too, that it takes a lot of work, and it takes a while to get things up and running, like you were saying.
Yeah. I mean, everything takes time. I mean, it's not magic. It takes work. It takes sweat equity. It takes customer service. It takes answering your phone a lot, being available, being easy to work with. I mean, it's, you can't you can't treat it like a hobby. And I think when you're not doing it full time, you don't always pay your business the proper respect it deserves. And it took me a little bit to figure that out. And it took, you know, Rich and I having a lot of conversations, and mainly Rich being right and me fighting him and not wanting to do stuff. And I mean, it's challenging. But one thing we did was we had contracts early on, because we wanted to have an understanding that, hey, at the end of this, if this doesn't work out, we need to make sure we're still friends. Our relationship comes first. And so I try really hard to work with him and make sure he's happy, and comfortable, and because I can't do this business without him. I mean, we had this scare. We both had these sciatic nerves issues. Like I struggle a lot with sciatica, and he had like his first bout and he was in bed for like a week and I could barely move around. I was moving around what I could to keep the business afloat. We missed a planting. And
Oh, wow.
I had to short a whole bunch. Well, because we do microgreens, so Rich is planting twice a week. I'm harvesting twice a week. We're doing 144 trays a week, and big shout out to Alex Bell, who he's in the mixed martial arts community. But I met him mainly through School Sucks. But he had some skill sets in helping us build a spreadsheet to crunch numbers and figure out what I should actually be selling my products at and everything else like that. But I've gotten a lot of help from a lot of people, and it goes a long way. I mean, there's definitely, I'm definitely grateful to have my business and to be where I am in it. And it didn't come from me on my own. It came from other people helping me out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's great when things can line up like that, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's what I do. So that's mainly my politics, man. I mean, I'm a big fan of media deconstruction. I'm a big fan of asking questions. I mean, I don't think that any of the media sources are being honest with us. I definitely lean on the conspiracy side of things because I just, man, the revolution's never going to be televised. And I think that there's a lot of people that are doing positive things that aren't necessarily getting the props that they deserve or getting recognized the way they should be. So, yeah, I mean, I try to pay attention to that stuff. I think that everybody thinks they have the right answers, but instead of actually going out in the real world and putting their theories and worldview to test to see if they can actually live on their own and exist within this society or the constructs of our society, um, and do it on their own with nobody's assistance. I mean, and what I mean in that sense is like, you're living your life based on your terms. And I think if you can't do that, then you need to figure out why. And I think a lot of people, and that responsibility always falls on you. And I think that until people start being responsible, we're going to have people that just want, I don't want to say they want handouts, but they don't want to be responsible for themselves. They want to blame somebody else because that's a hard thing to do, to look yourself in the mirror
Yeah.
and come to those realities that, okay, I'm where I'm at because of me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, and like, so, and when you start putting yourself out there, then you do work with other people. Like you can't get to where you want to be on your own, and you do have to work with other people. But I mean, I'm more about interdependence than independence.
Oh, that makes sense. So like building a group of people that can help each other out, like that importance of community that you were talking about.
Yeah, but it's mainly building a network. I mean, you want to build a network of individuals, that work together and help each other. Like I don't so I sell to like 30 restaurants across town. I don't eat out to places I don't sell.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
sell to. And if I do, it's because I want to sell there. Like that's it's just kind of the idea for me is, I support who supports me. And a lot of local businesses here have that idea. I mean, there's a lot of Columbus is a great city. Like Columbus, we're like the number one test market for restaurants. I think we're the number 4 in the country for people that want to flip houses. I mean, it's a great city. It's a pretty safe city. It's a very diverse city. So I'm happy. It's kind of weird. Like I talk with my friends about it. I don't identify really as an American. I identify from, being a Columbus, Ohio person. I mean, we have this mantra, Ohio versus the world sort of deal. And I think, I it's probably because I live here, but I think, Ohio is the heart of America. Nobody can win an election here, be U.S. president unless they win Ohio. And the United States is kind of the one that's pulling the strings. So I mean, if this is an important this I in my opinion, I live in one of the most important cities in the world. So it's just one of those things, and maybe it's yeah, I'm sure it sounds egotistical, but whatever, I'm okay with it. I live here, and I think you have to have that mindset if you really want to live the life. If you want to be happy. I mean, if I want to be happy, I can't speak for other people, but for me to be happy, like I have to feel that way.
Oh, okay. No,
If that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like, I was thinking about what you were saying there, in terms of like living life on your own terms and responsibility too. Like, I mean, for to be totally honest, I've been like I try to live life on my own terms, and I do a pretty good job of it for the most part. But I'm trying to do a better job of that this year, and I've got some plans that I'm working on for that. But I know what you mean about responsibility too, because even though like I guess everyone can improve in that area, and some more than others, and I'm aware of ways that I need to, well, I think I need to improve to help me live life on my own terms a little better. I think it is also sort of like a pet peeve of mine when I see people who are just like totally entitled and blame other people for their problems. Like I used to hang out with someone who I found out was like that, and it wasn't long after that that I just kind of decided to stop hanging out with them, because every time I would bring up that topic, they got really offended by it. So it seemed like they didn't want to change that aspect of themselves, and they wanted to just blame other people for their character flaws instead of recognizing your character flaws and working on improving them, which, like you said, is really hard to do, but also really important, I think, as well.
Yeah, I agree. I've had to like I love all my like even people I don't talk to, like the door's open for me. Like it's not like I'm cutting people out of my life and saying, "Hey, you know, get out of my life." But certain people, man, like I really believe you're the sum total of the five people you spend the most time with. I mean,
Right.
as much as I try not to have a bias, and as much as I try to be as logical as possible, like I'm still a human. Like that's really hard to do. So you have to be aware of things, and you have to, man, I don't want to. I get sick of like I don't. I'm not a fan of Jocko. I'm not a fan of a lot of things, but like
I used to be a huge fan of his, but I'm not as much
well, it's
anymore.
a stepping stone, man. I think it's
Yeah,
like a lot of podcasts and a lot of people that listen to podcasts. Um, they're really trying to figure their own shit out, and I was there. Like I was trying to figure my own shit out for a long time, and then I finally had enough balls when my I was laid off in corporate America to say, okay, like this is what I'm doing. And then I had a severance package, and then I was really nervous to invite another guy to who I'd met in real life like one weekend and say, hey, come move in with me and let's do this thing. And then it there was some adjustments, but I mean, like, shit, man, like living with Rich, like, guy, Rich is super organized. He's kind of got some positive OCD, and it's like, hey man, like I want to clean house too. So, hey man, nag me about certain things. Like if I'm leaving this house, if I'm leaving the kitchen the way you don't like it, do that. So even though I gave him permission to nag me and kind of help me grow up, I was still kind of a bitch about stuff. Like I would still like I'd get upset with him over stupid shit, or even like, and it's like, man, sometimes it's like, dude, I just don't want him to be right about this, but god damn it, he's right about this again. And it takes a lot of growing up on my end to like admit that, hey, maybe I'm still a child here. Maybe I need to improve this about me. And it still happens. I mean, like there's little things, but I try to be really aware of it. Because awareness is curative, man. I think that if you can be aware of where you are in life and kind of still hit have like loving punching gloves with yourself, like don't beat yourself up, but know what to say to yourself to improve and get to the level you need to be at. That's a big
yeah,
deal for me. I think self-improvement's been a huge thing for me. I think that's another reason why I really resonated with Hunter and mixed mental arts and what he wanted to do with that community. And then just I met so many cool people through it, like you and Dustin and Isaiah, but like Nate Foreman, who was a local dude, Jeremy Hewitt, uh, Adam Henson. I mean, me and I gotta have Adam on. Like I talked to him, I called him we talked for like 20 minutes. He's like, hey man, well I gotta go. I was like, yeah, me too. It was good catching up. Like it's good to have cool people like that in your phone that you
yeah,
can just give a call to. And so I think I'm really grateful for where I am in life, and like I still want to improve, and I'd like to make more money. I'd like to be able to help more people, but everything takes time too. It's not nothing happens overnight.
yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, and
Uh,
I totally know what you mean. Like, it's that self-awareness. Yeah, it's definitely really important, and it's hard to it like you said, you got that's a good analogy to have, like, loving punching gloves, like not get too extreme, because you can definitely do that, and I've done that before. But you need like sort of a balance between, like, I guess, positive encouragement rather, and stuff like that, and just acknowledging your faults and where you need to improve as well.
Yeah, I think man, I was gonna say, oh yeah, I mean, it's just failing forward. I think that was like when I
Yeah,
first started farming. Me and this dude Scott Hebert, we started doing this weekly show. We went to Permaculture Voices 3, which is where I met Rich, and Scott and I were doing this thing. And like for me, like man, I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought I wanted to farm, but I mainly wanted to network, and I was mainly like I was there for the podcast, and I still had a good job. I was making good money, and it was like, okay, I think I would fall back on farming, but thankfully, like Scott goes, well, yeah, have you done this yet? Have you done this yet? And I hadn't, because I didn't really plan on doing much that season. But I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'll get this LLC, I'll start growing, and we'll see what happens. And man, I did miserable. Like I wasn't organized. I was just trying to basically back myself in a corner and see what I would do. I mean, I knew I could make money, but man, it was hard to keep up with. Okay, so I was mainly selling lettuce, and I was trying to do lettuce and microgreens, like two easy crops that I could turn over in cash flow. And it just was a thing to where we start doing these shows, and like by midway through the season, I'm barely hanging on. And like, I got to a point where I hadn't planted. Scott was doing well with the farming thing, but not so great on the sales end. And then but the whole thing was, originally it was an accountability podcast that we were just going to do for this course that I bought through Curtis Stone, his profitable urban farming course. And then it turned into, failing forward. Like I read Scott Adams's book, how I failed at almost everything and still won real big. And that was kind of just a mindset. Like Scott Adams lays a lot of stuff out in that book. Even though there's people that think he's some right winger now or some Trump apologist or whatever
yeah.
nonsense, because it's so funny, because people want to put labels on things because it's their way of understanding it, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of where they are. And it's okay. Like I said, it's okay. I mean, I don't agree with everything Scott Adams says, but I like him. I think he has an interesting perspective. I think when he looks at things through a persuasion lens, it's actually pretty fascinating, and it helped me. And Hunter was doing the same thing. Like Hunter was really when I heard him on Rogan the first time, he was really saying similar things and similar ideas. And then I started going into the mixed mental arts book list and going through those. And then when Hunter came here, Hunter and Rich talked for, man, like 2 hours, and Hunter was just so patient with Rich, because and Rich was, and they had a really good conversation. And then Rich started reading through those books too. And so I think I think that the biggest thing is you just want to learn and improve yourself and figure out what can I do to make my life better? What can I do? Because life really is suffering, but it's also a playground all at the same time. So what are you doing to deal with things? Because I mean, the world can be an overwhelming place, but once you kind of compartmentalize and realize, okay, what do I actually have control over? Well, I have control over myself and how I react to things. And so, I mean, like 10% to me is what happens to you, and the other 90% is how you react to it.
Sounds like you're a large part of your life philosophy is stoic, like the stoic philosophy that I've learned a lot about, and done some podcast about with a lot of people too. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah, I think since it's so popular these days, the inner hipster in me is like, yeah, that's not me. I'm more into Taoism. Like I think
Oh,
like
me too, man. Yeah.
yeah, I'd say it's more of a Taoist philosophy, but I think like any Eastern philosophy, like Taoism and even Buddhism, which a lot of Buddhism is just a religious form of Taoism. And then but Stoicism is cool too. My good buddy Postal Poet from the Death Squad days, like he's really into Stoicism, and he changed his Twitter handle to Run Stoic, because he's really into running marathons now. But
Oh, okay.
again, like, it having good having the internet's helped me have good conversations with people that are from a different background, and I think it allows you to actually have a true diversity of thought. And I
Yeah.
think the term diversity gets overused, and I think Thomas Sowell, points that out a lot when he talks about, is it really diversity just because the people are a different race if they grew up in the same neighborhood?
No, they
And
might have like the exact same, or no, other way around. If some people grew up in the same neighborhood, they could have different thoughts about things, and it doesn't mean that they would all have the same opinions, but they might be more likely to have very similar opinions on things, like especially things that are largely dependent on your geographical location and your upbringing, like like what religion you might follow or something like that.
yeah, like I have a good buddy, Jess Moore. He's like, it was just funny, our Venn diagram, we were checking a lot of boxes, and he hit me up when Brett Fanot came into town, and then him and I became pretty good friends, and we do like brunches, because the Columbus Mixed Martial Arts group kind of formed into the Columbus think tank, because Thaddeus Russell goes, it's like the think tanks here, because there was three of us that came to LA. And so with that saying that, I just started saying, yeah, let's go with that, a think tank. And so we brainstormed some ideas, but now, a lot of stuff we talk about is trading. Like we have like a trade cast that I'll do with Jeremy, my buddy Damon, and Jess. And none of us are like traders. I mean, like full-time day traders or anything like that, but we just all want to have some skin in the game. And I think it's your way of, to us, trading is your way of, okay, these are my political ideals, let me put some money on it. And so for me, that's what, like with my business and everything else like that, that's kind of it, man. Like um I want to me, like, this is me putting money on something I believe in. Like I believe in a decentralized food system. I believe in regenerating the urban environment. I mean, if you go to any urban neighborhood, any large city, there's neighborhoods that people don't care about. There was a shooting less than a mile away from me about a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, and by the time the gunfight was over, 6 minutes afterward, the cops showed up. Then 14 minutes after that, the ambulance showed up, and then an hour after the shooting started was when the helicopter came.
Oh,
So
wow.
to me, I don't think, so for me, I mean, that's why I'm a big believer in the Bill of Rights. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Second Amendment. I mean, I'm a big fan of the First Amendment. I'm a big fan of all the amendments except for the fucking 13th Amendment, because that one's bullshit. But the original 10 Bill of Rights, right? Those were there for a reason. And I think that, you can't depend on the government to save you. They're just people. And so one thing though that Hunter really kind of helped me see, is, well, look, and actually, Jean-Martin Fortier did too. He's the market gardener. He wrote that book, and he's out of Quebec. But we were in California, and I'm on the show, and I was seeing something. Trump's gonna get elected. It doesn't matter. And he's like, look, man, you can't just sit back and say it doesn't matter and not do anything about it. Like, it's up to you. That's the way it works. Like, government is made of people. And so for me, I don't want to get involved in politics on a large scale level, but I could definitely see myself getting involved locally. Like I could definitely see myself trying to become a community leader here and having some skin in the game. And I think, things that we do to make the inner city better. I mean, like my buddy and I, mainly him, we've like placed like 27 animals that we pulled off the street. And there's nobody, it's the amount of stray cats. I mean, it makes a difference if you can get these stray cats and get them fixed. I mean, I'm not going to take them all in my home like my buddy has, because he just has a big heart, and his philosophy is the same thing. Like, you could sit there and bitch about the cats, or you could do something about it. And so we try to do something about it, and like, this winter I started finding this cat that was sleeping underneath our soil. So I have to get like a pallet of soil like every month for the microgreens. And a part of
Oh,
me just, yeah, part of me just didn't want to deal with it. A part of me was just like, that's not my problem. But it's like, I got tired of burying dead cats. Like I've buried about 2 dead cats that just decided to come on my land and die.
oh wow.
And that cat keeps mice away, and it probably kills songbirds, which sucks. But so another moment of Rich goes, well, what do you just want it to starve to death? And it's like, no, I don't. So we made a little cat house with a blanket in there, and we try to put food and water out for it. And, hopefully we help some cats stay alive. But, I'd like us to make a stronger effort. I mean, something going into this year, not only with business and crops and stuff like that, but I think, Rich really wants us to clean up these alleys and keep them beautiful, because we noticed in the back of the 3 houses where we took care of the alleyways. And I mean, Rich really just planted behind ours. And I don't want to say we, because it's mainly Rich. I've helped him clean up trash a few times, and every time I don't want to do it. Um, you know, eh, it's something that, though, it's like, my higher self is just like, man, Rich is right. Like, nobody else is going to do this. If we want to make a change, it's up to us.
Yeah, that's really admirable of you, man. Like I've never really done that much stuff like that, and
Well,
probably
it's really admirable of Rich, and it's mainly me living with Rich and not wanting him to look at me like I'm a bitch. So like, I don't want to take any responsibility. It's mainly Rich. So big shout out to Rich Fratzel. You should have him on the show.
yeah, for sure, man. He sounds like a great influence.
Oh, dude, he is a good influence, man. He's like a brother to me, and he's my quote unquote business partner. Um, so I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have him in my life. So, and I haven't really given him enough credit for things. So that's something I want to make sure that I'm doing. I want to make sure that, because I wouldn't be here without him. So, I wouldn't be where I am without a lot of people. So that's the thing. So I'm really grateful for everyone I have in my life. Man, no, I know we did want to talk about other things, but I just kind of steered the conversation in a different way.
No, that's okay,
Uh,
man. We go off on tangents all the time here.
Tangents.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, man, I think that's kind of like my philosophy. So that's why I've gotten a lot off of Facebook, because I just didn't feel like I understood why we have the chat, and I still like that. There's still cool people. I'll still chime in here and there, in the mixed metal arts group, but you know, you're using 10% of your conversation on social media. Like, humans communicate, our biggest way of communicating with each other is through our body language. And then it's after that's like 60%. And then 30% is actually like our tone and voice inflections. And then 10% is only the words we use. Now you want to make sure those are all lined up. I definitely want to be precise with my words. I'm trying to be better with that. But online, you're just going to get pissed off. Like, you're going to get in stupid fights. People are going to try to people just care about being right. They don't really
yeah,
care about actually making a difference or having a conversation that might shift their paradigm. And I don't think Facebook's a platform that really allows that.
yeah, yeah. I agree, man. Like I've definitely had many problems with like getting into these super long, completely unnecessary arguments with people where neither me nor the other person budges, and it's just an ego stroking contest. And that's part of why, like, I only check my notifications on social media once a week now, because doing that every day, it just takes way too much fucking time, and it doesn't really help you learn anything for the most part. I mean, I do get into really interesting conversations with people sometimes, for sure, but like avoiding that form of communication is a good way to avoid those regretful interactions, I guess, and doing more, like, even though it's virtual, like face-to-face conversations like this is, I think, a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like it'd be cooler if you and I were together, but I mean, let's not let's not forget what makes the internet awesome is the fact that, I could talk to you on here and people from all over the world can tune into our conversation. And I think that's powerful and that's something that we shouldn't really sleep on. But, it's not everything. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's not everything and we need to there's still um this only goes so far. Like now that we've talked on here, it's like, you know what, we should try to meet in person sometime. We should try to line up. So if I'm in Ontario, maybe hanging out at, the Corner Comedy Club, another shameless shout out to those comedy clubs, or at Niagara Falls, I'd say, hey, Mindgasms, I'm coming up, man. You should figure out a way to get there, right? And then we can hang out, we can break bread, we can fellowship. And that's what it's all about. I think, Hunter's original idea of mixed martial arts was having the big global dinner together, because
Yeah,
we both understood that the way that cultures come together is through food and breaking bread.
yeah, yeah. Well said, for sure, man. And yeah. I'd look. I definitely want to meet you in person, man. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think I'm all right, dude. I'm kind of corny. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a corny I'm a corny white dude. And I'm okay with it. I think it's an endearing corny. So, I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah.
cool too, but I'm mainly corny.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's kind of my philosophy, and that's my politics the way I come from. I mean, I think I don't I'm a big fan. I'm not a fan of political correctness. I'm not a fan of policing speech, even hate speech. I mean, I want to know who has these opinions, because we should go talk to those people and have it and listen to them. Listen to
Yeah.
why they think they're crazy thoughts, because that's all they really want. They just want someone to listen to them. I mean, certain people out there are going to try to propagate messages, like I would say Richard Spencer, I doubt believes half the crazy shit he says. uh I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of that is him trying to get attention for himself. And actually, what I thought about was, after we did our Watership Down talk with Dustin,
Yeah.
the one rabbit who just acted weird. What was his name? Where all the rabbits were eating the food that the farmer was giving them, and they just get harvested or caught in snares, and they just acted like it would never happen. He reminds me
Oh.
a lot more of Richard Spencer, because if you think about how he's leading people that follow him, um, he's leading them. I mean, look at all those people that were just looking for something to be a part of, that showed up in Charlottesville and then lost their jobs because of their allegiance with the alt-right and all that other nonsense. And it's like, he
Yeah.
led them all into snares. And I think that, I've read a lot of writings from them, like this dude, Charles Lyons. I've read him. And, honestly, I agree with most of his criticisms with our current system. But it's like, when they start talking about how we're just going to end up into different race factions and all that divisional bullshit, it's really, I just don't, they go to this place. It's called, did I cut out or did you cut out?
No, I'm still here. I just turned my
Okay, cool.
camera off. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it all goes into these factions of races. That's what they think, and it's this anarcho-fascism type of belief, and I just don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But I actually went to the source and I actually read what they say, and I don't think that they're white supremacists. I mean, I think that they're really there's something else, and I think that
Like what
Thaddeus
exactly?
um it's because I don't think that they are really, they want to be on their own. Like, we just want to whites to go live in their own spot and white people be with white people, which, if they don't want to be around other people, I mean, shouldn't we just encourage them to leave us the fuck alone and go on their own and not bother us?
Yeah, because then there wouldn't be racists in the society because they're it sounds like they're white
Potentially.
separatists. Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. So I don't think like the whole idea of white supremacy, I just don't see. Like it's like where are these white supremacists? And it's like now we get on the internet and people are calling black men white supremacists
Yeah.
or just weird shit like that. And it's like, okay, this is all out of control.
Or
Like
or
you are
if you're a conservative, that automatically makes you alt-right.
or people are calling you a conservative. Like I would say
Yeah.
I'm culturally conservative, but I'm very not conservative. I mean, like I'm all about gay people. I'm all about smoking marijuana. I'm all about legalizing drugs. I'm very anti-war. I'm very pro people. So I don't, if women, whatever women want to do with their body, that's up to women. Like that's not my fucking business. That's not my business. I'm not going to tell somebody what they can and can't do. Don't hurt other people and don't hurt me. And if you try to hurt me, then we might have some problems. But so I think that's kind of it. And I think that when you see just the division that the media points people in directions of, and man, you see it a lot in the chats and mixed mental arts. You see people accusing people of being right wingers and all this other stuff. And it's just like, man, I don't understand why you're saying that they're a right winger because they
Yeah.
disagree with you and you
Like,
consider yourself a left winger. Like, why are you trying to label other people instead of just worrying about yourself and what you can do to perpetuate ideals that you think are going to help people?
yeah,
Like,
I
be the solution to the problem.
I agree with everything you just said.
So that's kind of like for me, like I read what things are and I'll just disagree with them, but I'm not going to say, oh, these people are evil. We need to take away their platform because if they're going to take away if you're taking away somebody else's platform, then right around the corner, somebody's going to take away your platform. Right around the corner, they're going to find a reason to come after you. And I think that's what's dangerous. I think, this country was based around free speech. People came here to escape persecution, and now it's all about division. It's all about my side and your side, and there's the crazy people with Trump derangement syndrome, and there's the other side of the coin where they just think Trump can do no wrong. And I'm in between, and I'm like, I'm not playing any of your stupid games. It's just like even on online dating. Like you'll find, I'll go through online dating and I'll match with somebody and it says Trump supporter. If you're for Trump, swipe left. And it's like, so what do you mean if I'm not anti-Trump? Like I don't allow Trump to rent space in my head. Like I don't allow Trump to dictate how my day / week / that minute is going to affect me. I don't allow anybody to do that because I'm my own man and I'm my own human being and I'm the one that controls that. Nobody
Yeah.
else does. So it's just such crazy nonsense, man. It's like, instead of there's so many keyboard warriors. It's like, man, go out in the real world and do something.
Yeah.
If you're really upset with homeless people or poor people, then go out in the real world and try to help them.
That Trump thing reminds me too of that Gillette thing, because I saw
Yeah.
my brother is like way more progressive than me, and he posted something after the Gillette ad where it was this meme of this woman saying that she was out on a date with a guy, and he said that he liked the Gillette ad, but he thought it went a little far, and
Yeah.
so she got up and left her date with him. And then and then apparently, if you had any problem whatsoever with the Gillette ad, even if you agreed with the intentions of it, it meant that it was safe to assume that you were an ultra conservative sexist asshole.
Yeah, I think just everything's at this extreme right now to where we can't have a conversation. Nobody wants to have a conversation. It's like it kind of showed it in the Jack Dorsey Tim Pool conversation that was going on.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
And it was one of those things to where people were it's just everything is so divided right now. Like people don't want and it's just divide and conquer. Like the working class has been divided for so long. There's poor whites, there's basically there's poor people and there's not poor people. We don't really have a middle class anymore. The middle class is going away, and there's going to be rich people and there's going to be poor people. And it behooves people who are elite to keep the people that aren't elite to fight each other, because there's a lot more non-elites than elites. So the more that you can keep them divided through race, through political ideology, through gender, through sexual orientation, through any of that stuff, the better it is for them. I mean, like it's like every time you get on the news, this is a story. Oh, this is a story about men versus women, or blacks versus white, or Asian versus black, or Hispanic versus black, or you know what I mean? And it's just so crazy. Like the Yang Gang thing. Like everybody wants Andrew Yang now because he's gonna give him $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Which Andrew Yang is a fascinating individual. I've been it's listening to his rhetoric is interesting, but it's like he's pandering to everything. Like any crowd he gets in front of, he panders to. He's being a politician, but he's trying to sell. He's trying to get votes. That's what he wants is votes. He doesn't like, look, he can say he cares about you, and you know he thinks that. I saw something he was saying like, you know, he's worried because white people are becoming a minority and they've been in control for so long, and how long is it until white people start attacking Asians? And it's
Oh,
like,
really? I didn't
yeah,
see him say that.
yeah, he said it. I'll share the video, and it's just like, man, like I don't think that's the type of talk we need. Like I don't think we need that. I think we need to say, look, we're all Americans. Like we all live in America. We live in this country. Things are really fucked up right now. We're doing awful things around the world. Nobody, I mean, the crazy thing with Trump being in office, nobody's talking about all the weird shit Eric Prince is doing with Blackwater all over the world right now, with in Africa or in the Middle East, because it's all contracted. So, you know, we're not sending our US soldiers over there, but there's contract soldiers doing awful things. So again, it's for me, it's, you know, anti-war. Like I'm anti-war. Are you anti-war? Okay, cool. So we identify there. Like I look for common grounds with people to where we get along and where we see the world similarly, because if we can find things that we have in common, then we can work together. And because ultimately most of us are similar. Like I think like I'll shout out D Canfield, man. Like D, I don't agree with a lot of shit he says in mixed martial arts. I think he gets a little extreme at times, but you know what, man? Like he creates, sorry, I had to spray my cat. He creates discussion. Now I don't like a lot of what he has to say, but I'm not going to silence him. I mean, that's D's freedom, man. Like D believes what he believes, and he's very passionate about it. And I'm sure if him and I got together and had some beers or alcoholic beverages, I'm sure we would find some common grounds, and I'm sure we'd get along fine. And I think that's kind of like the approach I take with most people. Like listen, our common ground is we like mixed mental arts. Like we like this podcast that used to be on air regularly. And so I think that's kind of like my way of looking at it. Like, you know, I don't when I go out in the world, man, I want it to be a product of me. I don't want to be a product of it. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still there. Sorry.
Oh, you're all good, man.
There was just background noise.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard.
But yeah, I know what you mean. I should have that mindset with D a little bit more, I think. I'm just endlessly annoyed by him. But I actually did a few podcasts with him a while ago, but then I got into a political argument with him, and I stopped having any patience with him because he was saying that all Republicans are like evil and immoral and they're wrong about everything and stuff, and I started laughing at him, so he blocked me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care for that behavior, but that's where he's at, man. And I don't want to talk negatively of him or anything like that. Probably shouldn't have said his name, but whatever. I respect him. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
He was pretty cool when I did podcasts with him. Like
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a passionate guy, and I think that's something that I really respect. Is he does give a shit, man. I mean, again, I don't agree with any of his solutions that he thinks should be in the world, but he's passionate about it. You know what I mean? He gives a shit. And I think the fact that he gives a shit means something, because he actually does want to, he's coming from a place to where he wants to fix things. And I think that, you know, with people like that, okay, what do we have in common? What can we get together and do together? How could you and I work together? How could you and I come together and say, hey, let's unify, and let's unite, and let's figure out something that we could do to make a difference. And you know, and that might not work out, but at least you could try. And if it doesn't work out, then yeah, and then it's just like, hey, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea, I would say.
So, but yeah, it does say 80s anime, and
Yeah.
I think we covered politics. We still have to talk about Black Panther.
Yeah.
Did you watch? I missed the anime mixed mental arts chat. But I am
Yeah.
a big fan of
That's
80s
why
anime.
that's why I wanted to talk with you about it, because I know you missed the chat on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of cyberpunk. So I think cyberpunk and sci-fi, I think is really interesting. I'm a big fan of Philip K. Dick and Neil Stevenson, and the guy that wrote I, Robot. Can't believe I can't remember his name.
Isaac Asimov.
Yeah, Asimov. I like Isaac Asimov, and I'm a big fan of a lot of science fiction and just literature in general. I think I'd like to read more books like that. But yeah, I think 80s anime, I mean, that for me was a big part of my childhood, and then even like in adulthood, going back and watching it, like I still will geek out and watch some Robotech on Netflix or something like that. Like I think
I'm watching that right now.
Robotech's cool as
Yeah.
shit, man.
Yeah.
Rich got me on Robotech, man. He goes, we got through the first season, and then I'm still in the second season. Then I watched they made 2 movies, and they were both garbage.
Oh, I
So
didn't even know they did that.
yeah, don't even waste your time with them. One, like they did some weird things to try to market anime to Americans. So they would take like 2 movies and put them together, and it was just it's really weird. So there's some very weird things, like weird things happen when they try to market things that aren't American to Americans.
Yeah.
So I just try to see things where they are, and just try to, I don't know. I did used to read subtitles on anime, but I don't know. I haven't been watching a lot of TV recently. So I like 80s anime. We'll just say that. I mean, I'm a big fan. If anybody ever wants to talk to me about specific ones, I like all the stuff from Streamline that came out in the early 90s, late 80s.
What
that
are
were
some of
just-
your like some of your specific favorite ones?
Vampire Hunter D was cool. Crying Freeman. Neo Tokyo was cool. It was like 3 shorts. The old school Lupins are great. The one that Misaki, or I probably always say his name wrong. Anything he does is really cool.
Is it no, yeah, I don't know. I think you did get his name right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So Mizaki, he was the original. I can't find the old Japanese TV show of Lupin, but then he did the second Lupin movie, which is really good. I think it's on Hulu or something now. It goes through different things. I mean, it was on YouTube for a bit, then it got pulled.
Is he that guy who did Princess Mononoke too?
He is. Yeah, he did Princess Mononoke. He did Spirited Away. He's done a lot of cool movies, and it's usually like these weird future things, or these weird things that kind of take different concepts. And I don't know. I can't put it to words what he does, but I like his art. I think his art's really good. I'm a big fan of Death Note. That's more recent. I thought that was super cool. With the Shinigami, and I didn't really like the way it ended. The series a character dies in the series, and then it starts to kind of go downhill. So I was happy when it ended, but I like that it comes to an end. But I really like Detective Conan too, which is called Case Closed here. I like a lot of the old violent ones. Like there's like Violent Jack, and it's just so over the top. The Fist of the North Star. It was just, I think it kind of inspired them to start Dragon Ball, was Fist of the North Star, because that was an old TV show too that they made a movie of.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, somebody said that could be totally wrong. I think I read that somewhere, but that could be total bullshit. But it's like this apocalyptic, it's like post-apocalyptic, and this guy does these weird martial arts moves. When he hits people, their heads start to bubble and they explode. It's just ultra violent, which is, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I like a lot of those, man. Golgo 13 is pretty dope. So Golgo 13 is what the Luc Besson movie Leon, or The Professional, is based on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he kills. Yeah, No Women, No Children. Yeah, it's based off that anime. It doesn't get credit, but it's clear. Like, things get stolen from anime a lot. Like there's a scene in Snow White, the Huntsman one, the first one.
Oh, with the chick from
Kristen
Twilight?
Stewart.
Yeah.
And Thor. And there's this scene that they just blatantly stole from Princess Mononoke, and it was like, huh, they're not even trying to hide it. which is kind of like my issue with most movies, which will segue into like Marvel movies. Like it's weird because growing up reading comics, like, you were waiting for them to do movies well. Like, we'd always get Wizard, and they'd always have these ideas, man, if they were going to make an X-Men movie, that's who they'd cast for these characters. And then when the first X-Men movie came out, it was just so bad. And I never liked it. And then they came out. The second one was okay. The third one was really bad. Then the first Wolverine movie was terrible. The second one was good. And then the third one was good. And Deadpool was pretty awesome.
I love Deadpool.
But the issue, like, with and then I think Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was the first one that was actually really good.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
The first two were good. The third one is absolute trash.
Yeah, I can't like, I tried rewatching that whole original trilogy recently, and I couldn't even get through the second or the third one.
Really, the second one was cool with Dr. Octopus. Like, I thought they did that well, and there was definitely like some Evil Dead. Like, I'm a big Evil Dead fan.
Oh,
and
okay.
So Sam Raimi made Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, and then they made the Ash versus Evil Dead TV show.
Have you seen that show? Because I haven't.
Oh yeah, I've seen all the episodes. It's so over the top. I love it.
Is it as good as the movies?
I mean, it's cheesy. Like, I like Bruce Campbell, so if you like Bruce Campbell and his B movies, like, you'll love it. It's super gory, just like the original Evil Dead 1 and 2. And there's like, it's kind of like a comedic horror.
Right.
So I like it. I think, I the reasons why I like it, I don't think a lot of people would actually like it. So I think if you're a fan of the original 3 and then you go and watch it, like, I played the video games to just kind of learn the story when it was on PlayStation 1. Like, I was really into Evil Dead. And so there were scenes in the second Spider-Man of when Dr. Octopus is killing everyone in the hospital, and it was like, oh man, this feels like Evil Dead. So that's why I liked it. The third one was trash. The reboot with Andrew Garfield, I thought was terrible. A lot of people liked it, but I thought it was trash.
I didn't like those ones as much as the Sam Raimi ones.
Yeah, the new one's really good. The one.
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't seen that one. Spider-Man Homecoming.
Michael Keaton carries it. Like, Michael Keaton's in it, and then the next one has Jake Gyllenhaal, so it could be good. I like the Ant-Man movies, but man, Marvel's just really.
Didn't Spider-Man die at the end of Avengers Infinity Wars?
He sure did, but I don't think they're. Sony's just doing their own thing. Like, it's kind of that's a weird relationship. I liked Venom too, just because of Tom Hardy. If Tom Hardy wasn't in Venom, though, it would have been terrible.
Can play anyone. He's a fucking amazing actor.
Yeah, they were lucky to get good actors that could carry the movie. I think that was kind of my issue with Black Panther, was it was totally reliant too much on CGI. And there was just a lot of it just was rushed. Like, everything is so rushed because Disney's just trying to make money with it. It's like, guys, take your time. Like, do some story development. But no movie is really about story development anymore. It's just about churning them out. Let's make some money. Let's make it the next big thing. We're gonna spend all this money on CGI, and it's just I'm really sick of CGI. Like you can make good
Spectacle.
movies. Like horror movies suck now because it's all based on jump scares, and it's like, man, like can't we be creative? Like, isn't there
Yeah.
like still room for creativity? Like, isn't there still room with storytelling? So I think Matthew Vaughn does a good job with that, like with the Kingsman movies. I thought Kick Ass 1 and 2 were awesome.
Oh yeah, me
Um,
too.
and
Yeah.
I think, and it's just like I feel like Marvel's just so in your face with uh with their messages, and it's like, man, like can't you just make it subtle? Like, can't we just have this like kind of nuanced and um, can you not just slap people in the face? Like, see, message, message. Like, Captain Marvel wasn't bad until the CGI started happening,
Oh, I
and
haven't seen that one.
it's okay, but it's again, it's just like you know it's just so heavy on CGI, and then there's like scenes that like there's a scene where she's kicking these aliens' asses, and then like something screams at her, and she screams back, and it was like, dude, that's just like Willow, like when Mad Mardigan's killing the trolls. Um,
And my main problem with a lot of the Marvel movies is the dialogue. It seems like it was sloppily written by like some teenager or something like that to me.
it's just rushed. It's
Yeah,
just there's no time. Like I was talking to Maj Torre about it. I'm gonna post the episode later tonight, and we were talking a little bit about movies, and he's just like, dude, like I think the fact that there's comic book movies that I grew up with, I think that's awesome. But man, take your time. Like I don't mind waiting 5 years until the next Infinity Wars.
yeah. Although
But
Endgame is already going to come out soon
it's
now.
already coming out.
Yeah,
They can't wait. They can't help themselves. We have to make money. We're gonna drain Marvel until it stops making money, just like they did with Star Wars.
yeah,
And then it just becomes more about social justice versus telling a good story. Like you can keep those ideas of social justice in it, just write it well.
yeah,
Like I'm okay if you want to put your opinions in it, or I'm okay if you want to do certain things in it, but like, be creative. Like tell a story. Like there's not
yeah.
a lot
They
of good
kind of,
storytelling in movies now.
you think it might be partially due to them being owned by Disney now?
It's
That
100% to do with Disney.
yeah,
Disney just wants to make money.
that's what they did with the last Star Wars one. They just slapped you in the face with all this stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, Disney owns everything, man. Like Disney is they're just trying so hard to make money in it. Now they own the UFC,
Oh, I didn't
and
know that.
well, they don't own the UFC, but they just made this deal with ESPN Plus. So you can only purchase pay-per-views through ESPN. I mean, Disney is this huge force, and it's they just bought all of Fox's multimedia stuff. So now they own the X-Men, and they just are buying up everything. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You go down to Orlando where Disney is, and there's all like, I mean, it's fun. I like going down to Orlando, but man, there's all these. They're just tearing down all these old these cool swampy forests or nature trails and stuff, and they're just building these little McMansion homes that are like these $450,000 homes that are no yards and they're super close to each other. It's just so weird. Like I wouldn't want to live there. So
Okay.
I don't know, man, but I mean, it's good for that area, I guess. I mean, it's good for now, but I don't know. I have too many opinions sometimes.
I liked going to Disney World when I was a kid. That's about all I remember of it. I've I have no idea what it's like now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Disney World a couple times. I prefer Universal, but I mean, like, just one of my best friends lives in the Orlando area, and it's like one of the fastest growing areas in the country because so many retirees are moving down there. And Disney's just given they have a lot of jobs. I mean, there's a lot of work opportunities because of Disney. There's a lot of businesses because of Disney. Um, so I mean, they have like a positive economic. There's positive economic things going on because of there, but I don't know. There's just certain things that it's just like the real estate there is just getting out of control. The way it's ballooning, the prices, it's just so crazy. Like an empty plot of land that's like a 15th of an acre is like $150,000. because
Holy
somebody
shit.
could buy a house there or build a house there. So it's just growing out of control. So I don't know. I'm glad that Columbus isn't like that. Did I lose you, man?
Okay. No, sorry, I'm still here. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's wow. Like, I thought that housing prices were high here in Fort McMurray where I live, where it's like realistically like $500,000 to buy a decent sized house, but $100,000 just for a plot of land. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean there's houses there too. I mean it's like it's getting like that here in Columbus too. I mean it's the real estate market's just it's kind of topping out. Um but you know, it's what happens. I mean it's just a thing. I mean it's not good or bad. It's just going on. So you just got to figure out how to capitalize on it. So
Okay.
but yeah, man. I don't know. What else do you want to talk about, Mindgasms?
Well, I don't know. It seems like we covered pretty much everything we were going to talk about. We could get into. Do you want to talk about that Hotep Jesus episode that you sent me?
Oh, when he's talking about the Yang Gang?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Hotep Jesus. Big shout out to the Hoteps and the Hotep Nation. They get called white supremacists and all this stuff, and they're working class black dudes. They're just real dudes.
Yeah,
Um,
like I was saying, I like the way they talk. They're so like casual and like see humor in things.
yeah, and I think that they don't want to be put in a box. Like they're not. It was interesting because Hotep Jesus was invited to TPUSA, and it was like this big thing that Candace Owens was putting on, and then they're gonna bring all these black youth into the White House, and it was this conservative thing, and then at the end of it, like they banned Hotep Jesus, and he wasn't
Really?
allowed to go. Yeah, because
Oh wow.
he's not. I would say he's not an assimilationist. Like he's not gonna just buy in and agree. He's not gonna tote the company line. He's
Okay.
gonna be himself. And so I really relate to him in that way because I'm not going to buy into somebody else's bullshit.
Right.
That's why it worked for me. So yeah, I think their deconstruction and analysis is pretty interesting. Like they pointed out this R. Kelly thing, which I was really quick to cast judgment on R. Kelly's court of public opinion about R. Kelly because of his history and everything. But then when you kind of look into it, man, uh, he had that interview, and what was weird was when the documentary came out on Hotep's Been Told You, Hotep Jesus said, just watch. After this documentary, they're going to throw some charges on him. And that's exactly what happened. So pretty much what he's getting charged for is, so there's a couple things that's really weird going on in Chicago. So Kim Fox, who led both the R. Kelly investigation and the Jussie Smollett investigation, is basically the police unions accusing her of interfering in the Jussie Smollett investigation. They want a federal investigation into her handling of the Smollett case. She's also the one that she eventually recused herself from that case. And there was also a lot of, she was fined for violating campaign finance laws. And George Soros definitely helped fund her.
Oh
And
wow.
so it's like, and again, it's people are going to accuse me of being anti-Semitic for just saying the name George Soros, but the guy is a political guy. I mean, that's his gig. To me, it doesn't really matter what religion he is or what his background is. It's mainly just his actions and what he's doing. I'm not trying to make some blanket statement. So that was interesting. So I had written him off, and I was just like, he clearly pissed on that girl back in 2006, but he was acquitted of child pornography. So now what he's being accused of is criminal sexual assault, in which basically a person commits criminal sexual assault if that person commits an act of sexual penetration and uses force or threat of force, knows that the victim is unable to understand the nature of that act or is unable to give knowing consent, is a family member of the victim, and the victim is under 18 years of age or is 17 years of age and over and holds an or over and holds a position of trust, authority, or supervision in relation to the victim. And the victim is at least 13 years of age, but under 18 years of age. And so this woman named Asante McGee, whom Kelly had met in 2014 and taken to live with him some months later, said that she lived not only with Kelly alone, but with other women. She said he controlled every aspect of her life when she lived with him, but then she left on her own accord. So it's kind of weird. I mean, so this guy is the king of R&B. No, everybody's familiar with groupies. I'm
Yep.
not going to say that. I'm not trying to have a moral claim here. Like, to me, moral and legal are not the same thing. Legally, in most states, most of North America, the legal age of consent is 16 years of age.
Oh, I didn't know
Now, that's a totally different conversation. In the state of Illinois, it is 17. So, but I'm not really sure where all these charges are coming from. But when you look at where they're coming from, they're from more videos that nobody's seen. And actually, the same girl is part of this who he was already acquitted for the child porn thing. So
Oh,
when he was going crazy and like acting a fool in this 80-minute video that we got to see 10 minutes of, and he's saying it's double jeopardy. I'm fighting for my freedom. I'm fighting for this. And they just kind of make him look like a crazy person. Um, he wasn't really saying incorrect things. And so it's to me, the dangerous thing is that right now we are so quick to judge people without them getting, their proper day in court. And I think that's important. And something Hotep Jesus had also said during the Kavanaugh hearings is, listen, if a white man's not going to get his day in court, I'm definitely not going to get mine. And so it was kind of, the idea of, and I look at that the same way. Like, if somebody else, doesn't matter what their skin color is, can't get a day in court and can't do that. I mean, like, they threw R. Kelly in jail, and then a fan bailed him out, and then they threw him in jail again for child support, and then another fan anonymously bailed him out, paid
oh
his
wow.
bond, and paid his child support debt. So he has support, and it's just kind of crazy. Like, okay, if everybody knew R. Kelly was doing this stuff 15 years ago, where were they then? Why is everybody piling on him now? And it's
You think
just
you think it's due to the political climate?
I don't know. I think that's part of it for sure. I think it's also interesting that right before the media was covered with investigations into the Purdue family and their drug company that started OxyContin, since everything now is about the opioid epidemic, and now nobody's talking about that. Now all we're talking about is Jussie Smollett and R. Kelly.
Yeah,
And it's weird that it's all from the same town. It's also weird that it was the same Kim Fox who led both investigations.
that is weird. Yeah.
So I'm not drawing any conclusions. So, but like I said, I do ask questions, and I do like to ask, why is this going on? And I don't really have an answer, but I mean, who knows? I feel like in our climate now, if you're a good PR guy, it's easy to get whatever. Let's say somebody's investigating me for whatever. It'd be so easy to misdirect it to somebody else if they're a celebrity or something like that, because we don't care about real things going on in the world. All we care about is celebrity gossip.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, those are like you said, like Jussie Smollett and all those things with R. Kelly and whatnot are really like distractions from more of the real problem of the opioid epidemic, for example. And
Well,
many
there's other problems. I mean, there really is sex trafficking that's going on. Like, Ohio is one of the biggest hubs of sex trafficking. Like, one of the biggest events for sex trafficking is the Arnold's Classic that brings millions of dollars into the city of Columbus every year. I mean,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I mean, where I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, is like third for sex trafficking in the United States. It's one of
Wow.
the top cities in the world for sex trafficking. And the Ohio State Fair is the #1 event for sex trafficking, I think, in the country. So,
Sounds
and it
like
just
a good
keeps getting,
place to
well. So what I'm saying is, that was a joke you're gonna get crucified
go.
for there, Andrew. So, but I mean, like, these are real things. I mean, slavery that's going on in sex trafficking, like shit that they're trumping up the king of R&B for. You know, maybe he did do. I mean, man, like I'm not gonna say that he hasn't done shady things because I don't know him and I wasn't around him. I wasn't there. I haven't seen the tapes, nor do I want to see the tapes because then that also, if this is real child pornography, then I'm actually breaking the law if I watch this tape. Like essentially, the way the law is written, if you're not law enforcement, you watch that tape, you could get some charges put on you for participating with child pornography.
Glad that I haven't
So
watched
when
that then.
when people are coming out of the woodwork saying like, "Oh, I was going through old VHS sports tapes and I found an R. Kelly tape," and then it turns
Really?
out it was, yeah, that was one of the most recent ones. And then there's this big, basically a lot of this charges based on him that like all the allegations are coming from these alleged sex tapes, and apparently, um, they're trying to say that R. Kelly had his sex tapes in a duffel bag and he would just travel around the country with a duffel bag filled with sex tapes, which I don't know if he did or didn't, but that sounds pretty crazy. So it could be the case, which if it is the case, and that's pretty crazy. But and that wasn't very smart of him. But there's just a lot of crazy shit. But on the surface, everyone's just like, oh, we all know he pissed on that teenage girl in 2006 and he should have been convicted, but he wasn't. So we're gonna go after him again. I mean, just like what happened with OJ Simpson. I mean, everybody was like, oh, he really murdered that girl. He really murdered Nicole, which, yeah, a lot of the evidence indicates that he definitely did. But he was acquitted of that crime, but instead he was charged civilly and he lost. And then he lost everything, and then he went back to jail for breaking into somebody's house to steal his Heisman Trophy back. So man, I just think it's interesting. I mean, I don't really know if R. Kelly's innocent or not, but I think he deserves his day in court.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that he deserves as an American, and that's why we left the UK, and that's why we fought the Revolutionary War. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that wasn't the only reason, but I mean, that is a result of having a Bill of Rights and being allowed to have a day in court. So, I think that's important.
Yeah. Innocent until proven guilty is a really good idea.
Yeah, now in the news, like guys from the CIA said, "Well, you're innocent until alleged guilty." Like somebody said that on CNN, I forget who. And it's like, no, man, that's not how that works. But it's again, like something Hotep Jesus is pointing out is you're tried in the court of public opinion first, and now Oprah Winfrey's digging up Michael Jackson's dead body with this documentary and saying, "Oh, he's a pedophile," which I'm not going to say if he was or wasn't, but all I know is two people who've defended him vehemently are Corey Feldman and Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin's his Paris Jackson's godfather, and he gets really defensive if you even mention her name. And I do know that the Jackson estate makes billions of dollars a year still, and I am, maybe they want some of that money. I don't know what the motivations are behind it, but it's just kind of weird that they're going after the king. First, Bill Cosby goes into jail, which again, I'm not saying Bill Cosby's innocent, but he was also a guy that was going to inner cities telling people to take responsibility for themselves and to pull their pants up. And then they go after R. Kelly, and now they're going after Michael Jackson, who's dead and can't defend himself.
Yeah. And did you hear, like, for example, there's a Tim Pool video I watched where he was talking about how The Simpsons removed one of their episodes in which Michael
Jackson was in it.
Voices, yeah.
Yeah. On every radio station saying, "Oh, we're not playing Michael's music anymore." And it's just so weird because whenever these stories come out, everybody tries to stunt with the stories to make themselves look better. And I think it's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, it's like with Michael Jackson, for example, like you said, he's dead. Like, what's the point in shaming a dead guy? He's not going to feel the shame.
My buddy, shout out to Terrible B-Hop. He got in, he's like, "Yeah, I hopped in your YouTube video. It was fascinating." I think he's making fun of me. Anyway, sorry about that. Shout out to Terrible B-Hop if he's still watching live. Yeah, why dig up a dead guy? Like what? And also too, it's weird that Oprah Winfrey's doing this, and then one of her best friends is the one that did the R. Kelly interview. I mean,
Oh,
I
I
don't
didn't
know
know that.
why. I mean, I know Oprah Winfrey lost like $50+ million with her Weight Watchers investment, but
I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know she took a big L on the Weight Watchers. So man, I don't know. I don't know. It's media though. I mean, that's just what it does. It's not there to unite us. It's there to divide us.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
mean, like media has a financial incentive to sensationalize things because that's what gets more clicks. And if you sell outrage to people, that's what they're drawn to. But that reminds me of another thing that Hunter says too. The only thing that can overwhelm the feeling of outrage is the feeling of awe. So
yeah.
that's why it's a better thing to try to inspire, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. So I do a lot of Diamond Dallas Page yoga. I'm a big advocate. I had some sciatica issues. I've lost like 40 pounds doing yoga, mainly Diamond Dallas Page yoga. And one thing that I like about DDP's business model is it's all based on inspiration. It's all like seeing people that can't walk and then they start doing yoga and then they just are committed to it. Now they can run. And it's
Oh
like
wow.
guys from like with old military injuries and stuff like that, or and it's all about getting people to be inspired. And I think staying positive and trying to inspire people to make the world a better place that's what you should be focusing on. Like, man, like it sucks. Like I watch a lot of movies and I shit on them because I'm kind of it's probably the hipster in me, or if I don't like something I can tell you why I don't like it.
Yeah.
um so I try not to talk about those things, even though it's funny. Like it's like I mean, it's another reason why I don't really on Facebook anymore, because I used to troll so much. And it's just like, man, is this really like it's funny? It did get me some friends that would get my sense of humor. But man, like I took 2 years off Facebook pretty much. Then I came back a little bit and I posted something I thought was funny. And it was this kid satirically holding up the sign, making fun of the Parkland kids that were like about guns. It was just so over the top stuff. And Eric Hunley commented on it like, man, that's a stupid argument. I'm like, buddy, that's satire, man. He's not being serious. And he's like, oh, damn, that got me, man. Facebook's getting the best of me. And
Oh
it's like,
yeah.
it is, man. People don't know how to laugh anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone's just at each other's throats. It's us versus them. Everyone's being otherized. I think the Philip K. Dick, he wrote a bunch of short stories, and recently Amazon and the BBC just made a mini series, and then like each one's its own short story, and they're all really good. But my favorite one is the last one. Well, okay, so on Prime it was the last episode, and actually the episodes were in a different order for some strange reason in the UK.
Hmm.
So because I watched them before I really wanted to watch them, so I watched them when the BBC released them. But the one episode, it's called Death to Others, and this guy and the whole media is just blatantly saying, oh, it's just otherizing everyone. And this guy's like working, and he's working with his friends, and he starts talking about politics, and he starts getting in trouble for it. He's like, did you guys see the TV the other day? Like, they were saying kill the other people. I mean, who are the others? Why are they saying death to others? And then eventually he gets labeled as an other, and I think he gets killed at the end of it. Philip K. Dick stories usually didn't have happy endings.
Yeah.
But it was usually to like awe you or to like make you think about things. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think
That's
you know,
one of the great things about science fiction often, because it like this relates to some of what we were talking about politics in terms of politics, obviously, because it's like showing you it's like setting up a mirror for if we're talking about like really good science fiction that's trying to do the same sort of thing as what Philip K. Dick does a lot. It's like putting up a mirror and showing you what the culture is like, or what this certain type of culture could become, to
yeah,
try to like make you reflect on how people are behaving in terms of those characteristics.
for sure. I got another threatening text message from another friend that tuned in. So sorry. Shout out to Jared Eric. He's my man. He my old cable brother in from when I used to work. So he said he'd never talk to me again. Sorry about that, Mindgasms.
That's okay.
So Yeah, that's what I like about science fiction too. I mean, Philip K. Dick shit, like, I don't think a lot of people know, like, he wrote Total Recall. And actually,
Yeah, and
if you read,
Minority Report.
yeah, Minority, and the short stories were always better, but I used to be one of those dudes, oh, the book's so much better. Like, a movie or a film is always, it needs to be its own thing. Like, it can't always, like, you can't make it word for word. Sometimes it does and it works out. Like, The Road was pretty close to it because Cormac McCarthy
Yeah.
wrote both the script and the movie.
What did you
But
think of those? Because I found both of I watched the movie and read the book, and I found both of them to be like phenomenally depressing.
well, yeah, The Road isn't happy. I mean, no, most of Cormac McCarthy stuff isn't happy, man, but it's still good.
Yeah.
Like, I thought The Counselor was great. A lot of people hated it. But The Counselor was great. Like, the scene where the OG mafia guy is talking to Michael Fassbender about how his wife was made into a snuff film, and because they steal, like, his girlfriend, they turn, like, it's fucked up. And he goes, yeah, so if you watch it, you're going to be liable for it as well, because by watching it, you're also guilty of participating in it. And it was
Oh,
just like this crazy thing. And then I thought that movie was good. No Country for Old Men is one of my favorites. Richel Fratzel, my farm manager, hates that movie. He's like, you're just waiting for this big finale, and then it never happens. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's Cormac McCarthy, man. That's the way he writes stuff. And the Coen brothers, I thought, did a good job. I haven't read a lot of his books, man, to be honest. I know I've wanted to, but yeah, it is pretty depressing. I'd rather read um David Wong or something like that. I think his stuff's a lot more positive.
who's David
Uh
Bowie?
he wrote John Dies at the End. His real name's Jason Perequin or something, but
Oh,
he works at Cracked. He wrote John Dies at the End, and this book is full of spiders. And he wrote another one, but there's a movie, John Dies at the End, and
yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't seen it though.
it's good. It's very different than the book. A lot of people shit on it for that reason, but David Wong loves it, because if the movie wouldn't have been made, like, the book wasn't really selling. Like, he sold like a couple thousand copies from just having a blog. But then what happened is the guy who created Phantasm, this kind of cult horror film guy,
Oh,
Amazon recommended David Wong's book to him. And so he bought it and he read it, and then he bought the film rights. And then from that, it, like, helped him be able to quit his job. And then Cracked.com bought his old website. So now he works over at Cracked. But he's like a radical optimist. Like,
oh, okay.
like, I really like, he's like, no, it's actually good that all these countries have nuclear weapons, because now people aren't going to want to use them, because the
Oh,
consequences are so much bigger. So he always kind of spins like a positive tune on it.
oh, okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's an interesting argument about nuclear weapons too. Like, if they're, well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if everyone has them, then there's the threat of them being used. So you agree to not use them because you're worried about what would happen if they do get used. But what, like, in line with that sort of argument, then would it still also be better if there were no nuclear weapons, or would it be worse?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have a lot of technology we have today. That's for sure. So, I mean, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of our technology originates from war.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's kind of the weird thing. It's like how humans have evolved. I think too, it's probably how we kept our population under control for a long time. If you look at how many people died in World War One, actually, the documentary that just came out that Peter Jackson made about World War One, where he remastered all this old, dude, he was so crazy. He totally, like, got this OCD attention to detail. Like, he added sound to it too, so he'd figure out what weapons were being fired. And because he's so crazy, he has all this World War One memorabilia. So he went and he actually owned some of the cannons that they were firing. So he fired the cannons to have the sound. And then there was these old guns, and he actually owned some of these old guns. So he went and shot off these guns. So they'd have sound for that. And then they went and they figured out from the films where a lot of these British men were from. So then they hired professional lip readers to read what they were saying after they fixed the film, and then paid people from those towns or those areas of England that would still have a similar dialect to be speaking those dialects. It's so phenomenal.
Oh wow.
And then most of the
What's that
and
called? I should check it out.
I forget, man, but most of the um most of the shit, most of the so the narration is just from interviews that the BBC had. The BBC has hours and hours of interviews from World War One. It's called They Shall Not Grow Old.
Okay.
And so it was just narrated like there's no like there's no agenda in it. It was just, well, the agenda was, there's always an agenda, but it just was to have the people that actually fought in the war tell the story. And so it's pretty powerful because they'll talk about like how awful it was, but how they appreciated the camaraderie that they learned from it. And like, man, the things that they had to live through to fight that war were just awful.
Yeah.
And then they talk about when they got back, how everyone treated them like shit and everything else like that. So it was interesting, man. I definitely think it's a must watch.
Yeah.
So
Sounds that way, man. Have you seen or listened to rather Dan Carlin's World War One series, Blueprint for Armageddon?
I haven't, man, but I know Rich did. Rich loves Dan Carlin. I never been really into Dan Carlin.
Oh, okay.
Not that like, I mean, I again, I think it's because everybody was like, "Oh my God, Dan Carlin's so good." So I just was like, "Well, I'm not gonna listen to that."
It's that hipster thing.
The inner hipster in me.
You're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. If everybody's saying this is so great, you should do this, then I probably won't do that.
Do you go the opposite way too? Like if everyone says, "Oh, this is awful, this is so terrible," does that make you want to check it out?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like, why do people hate this so much? And then a lot of times I'll go see it and I'm like, oh yeah, I see why. Yeah, that really is terrible. And certain times I'll be like, what the hell are they talking about? I thought that was good.
Yeah.
So
well, especially if we're talking about art or something like that, it's all very subjective.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of art I enjoy. I mean, I'm not really an artist. I think I'm creative in other ways, but I like creative type people. My stepmom's an artist and I've helped her sell her art. And art's so subjective that, we were trying to figure out like the business. I was trying to help her figure out the business end of that. Like, okay, you need to raise your prices more. I think people aren't buying stuff because you're not valuing it high enough. And then we raised prices and she sold a lot more.
Oh.
So I mean, yeah, I think that art is really subjective. There's certain artists that I don't understand how people like, and then there's stuff that I really like that nobody else does. And then the inner hipster in me, when people start to like it, I distance myself from it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like the Joe Rogan Experience. I really liked Rogan's show when it first came out, when Red Band was still on it, and then it got big. And now I like tune in here and there, like the Alex Jones episode for sure. The last one, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was such a good episode for so many reasons.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious, but also too, it was like, look, Alex Jones is a real dude. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm not. I have my own theories about Alex Jones, but ultimately, Alex Jones helped me get to where I am. Like, I think, like, I saw his documentary, A Blueprint for Endgame, A Blueprint for whatever. It's on YouTube. I saw it a long time ago. What's that?
I think I've seen that, and the one about, what's that thing called? That
the one he did with John Ronson.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. The thing like the Men Who Stare at Goats thing.
Yeah, that was part of it. But it was the secret.
What was that other one he did? That it was about this this gathering that a whole bunch of rich elites go to, where they they worship an owl god and they burn an effigy of a child or something like that.
Yeah, it's that shit, and they got it on camera.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove, that's what it's called.
Bohemian Grove. Yeah. So that was cool. And then I found so I started watching the best of Alex Jones because he's so fucking funny. Like when he goes
Yeah,
crazy, he's
no.
so funny.
That's
And
what I watch. That's why I watch clips of Eddie Bravo from when he's on Joe Rogan too.
Edgy Bra. Dude,
Conspiracy.
Eddie is one of
Yeah,
the coolest people I've ever met. Like Eddie's one of the nicest dudes. Super cool, super humble, really, really nice. Like, dude, loves talking about conspiracies. I really I can't say enough good things about him. I met him in he did a show with Sam Tripoli at the corner in Niagara Falls, and Eddie was one of the nicest dudes. And I think Eddie's so funny. And also too, like, I like the way he argues. Like
yeah,
he has a sense, his troll logic is phenomenal. I
yeah.
think
I'm crazy. Don't
yeah, I'm
listen
crazy. Look into it. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Have you been to space? I haven't been to space.
to
And it's like, yeah, I haven't been to space. Like we really are just agreeing with other people tell us. And so I think I think there's some merit to that. But I found this old Alex Jones clip on YouTube. It's like the best of it. It's like an hour. And it's like Alex Jones goes in front of George W. Bush when he's governor. And he goes, he's doing this. So he's saying some bullshit speech. So he starts taking questions. He goes, yeah, Alex Jones goes, the truth is we sold out to Europe years ago. And now we have wouldn't the world be better if we got rid of the Federal Reserve and ended the Council on Foreign Relations? And then like Alex Jones gets pulled out by cops, and then they're arresting him and harassing him. The camera guy's there. Then they start harassing the camera guy. I mean, it's like, look, like everything these liberals are doing now in Congress and like at the Kavanaugh thing when they were protesting him and doing all that shit, like Alex Jones started all that shit, man. Like no matter what, like Alex Jones was a crazy liberal guy, and now he's considered this neo-Nazi, alt-right conservative or whatever nonsense. It's like, dude's none of those things. He might be crazy, and he is super entertaining, and he is pretty wild, but you could tell, like, that's what I liked about that Rogan episode was you could tell that dude has a good heart. He's not doing this shit because, I mean, I'm sure part of it is he makes an income from it, but I think a lot of it's from, a lot of it's because he really does care. Like, I mean, that's why he's like putting everyone on blast. And I mean, he's been going after Ben Shapiro, which I agree with. I think Ben Shapiro is largely some Hollywood shill. I think he's the Hollywood creation. And
Oh, really? How so?
I mean, he's from LA. He came up out of nowhere. I think he's trying to get Fox News money. I think that that other guy, Steven Crowder's trying to get Fox News money. I think they're all trying to position. I mean, look, the old Reich of conservative figureheads are getting older, and people are trying to come up and position themselves to take those spots. I mean, but what's crazy is if you look at the mainstream media numbers, like none of them are doing good ratings. The best is Hannity, and he's got like 3.3 million in the ratings. I mean, pro wrestling was killing them back in the 90s during the Monday Night Wars. And now you look at the news, you look at our president, and they all are taking shit from pro wrestling, man. Like Donald Trump would be one of the greatest heels ever if this is WWE. Donald Trump is in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Linda McMahon is in his cabinet. I mean, fuck, dude. I think it's by design. I don't like the tactics. I mean, look who Ted Turner owned both WCW and CNN, and now all CNN is in most news programming it's just like pro wrestling, man. They don't actually report the news. They hire people to have commentary about things that they haven't even read. Like, did you read the Roger Stone? Did you read the Roger Stone dossier and all that stuff? And nobody had, but they all had opinions on it.
Yeah. That's true. That's actually a great analogy. Like
it's pro wrestling, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Donald Trump is funny like a pro wrestler. Norm Macdonald said it best. I mean, he does like he went to CPAC and he did like a 2-hour special, like stand-up routine. He has like stand-up routines.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of comedians hate him, is because he's doing their job better than they are.
I think a lot of particularly progressives hate Trump because they don't understand that. Well, at least I think that a lot of what he says is trolling, and
Dude, he's this huge troll. He's
yeah,
like one of the greatest trolls ever. Look, he kills everybody on Twitter. It's so crazy. And he says nonsense, man. I mean, like, look, I'm not gonna look, I'll be the first to say, look, let's criticize Trump. Come on, let's do it together.
yeah,
Yeah, what was that shit he was doing with Epstein? Going to Canary Island and all that crazy shit, just like Bill Clinton and everybody else into that weird sex stuff.
yeah,
Nobody's talking about that. I mean, nobody wants to talk about any of the dirty stuff Trump does. Instead, they want to talk about how he talked about grabbing some woman by the pussy one time, or, oh, I mean, go to trumprotation.com and you can see all the shit they say about Donald Trump. I mean, I'll pull it up now. I mean, this is what the news says about him. Hold on here. Let's go trumprotation.com. Again, I did not vote for Donald Trump. I did troll for him. I did do some shit posts because I thought they were funny. So it was like, like I thought for sure everybody would knew that I just thought it was funny. And then I would do I would read Scott Adams' blog and he'd say, hey, this is how you talk to somebody that's anti-Trump through the persuasion lens. So I would do that. And it was fascinating. Like I would just word for word, people would walk right into it. And he would say, listen, if they're going to talk to you about policy, they already know too much. So this won't work on somebody that knows policy. But just based on what the media says, the persuasion lens, walk people through it. And I would do it. I would get on Facebook and I would troll for probably 2 hours. And then I'd have people send me screen caps of me trolling and be like, dude, this is brilliant. Your troll game's on point right now. And it was just a troll, man. It was just for lulz because I'm an asshole. Which is why I got off Facebook, because it's like I need to do something positive with my life.
right.
Okay, here we go. Trumprotation.com. Oh no, I'm using Google. Shit. I don't want to do.
It doesn't work with Google. It doesn't work well.
No. And also too, I don't want to. Let's see. Trumprotation.com. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. Donald Trump said he was going to pay off the debt in 8 years. Yeah, nobody on the left's criticizing him for that.
That's funny.
A lot of lefties think that debt is amazing. They're for the MMT. Okay, so Trump rotation. Everything wrong with Donald Trump, according to the critics, the Democrats, and the mainstream media elites and pundits. Any news analysis discussing Trump tends to bring into play one or more of these cliches about Trump. Illegitimate president, lost popular vote, incompetent, White House chaos, unhinged, updated to unglued, liar, Hitler, demands loyalty, cheeseburgers is all he eats, McDonald's, sex offender, Russian agent, never says anything bad about Putin, white supremacist, narcissist, mentally unfit, a dummy, insane, unstable, clown or bozo, foreign leaders hate him, hates women, misogynist, hates Muslims, Islamophobic, hates gays, homophobic, anti-Semite, admitted molester, rapist, 25th Amendment should be instituted, should be impeached, hates immigrants, hates Mexicans in particular, says all Mexicans are rapists, racist, small hand, small penis, big red button, should not have nuclear codes, immature, childlike, you need an adult in the room, tweets too much, thin-skinned, bully, holds grudges forever, mean, bankrupt, does not have any money, long ties, fatter than 239 pounds, plays golf too much after criticizing Obama, hypocrite by action, seldom called one, incestuous, would date daughter, divorcee, golden showers, pee pervert, tax cheat, won't release taxes, impetuous, Nixonian, criminal, obstruction of justice, money laundering, runs the mob.
Runs the mob.
Yeah. I mean, all that shit is what gets put out in the media. And I don't see anything there about Epstein. I don't see anything about Eric Prince running wild. I don't see anything about debt, the uncontrolled budget. I don't see anything on policy. It's all personal ad hominem attacks.
Yeah.
And conspiracy theories.
Yeah. That's what sells, like you said.
Yeah, they need Donald Trump because Donald Trump is helping the New York Times sell subscriptions, is helping the Washington Post sell subscriptions, is watching CNN not go bankrupt because they're running out of viewers.
That's why, like, I was through Audible, I was listening to the audio version of the New York Times every day for a little while, but then I stopped, mostly because I figured I don't need to every day be like, did you hear what Trump did today? I don't care. Most of the
uh,
most of the time it's like I don't care what latest insult he said today. I don't really care.
yeah, I don't either, man. I mean, the thing is too, like, Rich points out, I mean, Donald Trump's rolling back a lot of EPA regulations. It's probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, as much as I am anti-government, I don't trust corporations, that's for sure. Pollution is definitely a problem. I might not be I'm not buying into we have 12 years till the world ends, like a lot of the crazy leftists, global warming conspiracy theorists think.
Yeah.
But fuck, dude, the climate's changing. I have a feeling it's going to get a whole lot colder.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't even actually remember where I heard this, but I'm pretty sure, or at least I heard that with global warming, it's going to be something like within 50 to 100 years, most coastal cities will be covered in water, and then obviously there can easily be a lot more consequences, more severe consequences, and more natural disasters and all sorts of consequences like that. But it's not like like you said, it's not the case that the world is going to end in 12 years. That's the problem. There's this polarization on both sides. Like, the world is going to end in 12 years on one side, and then on the other side, global warming is a hoax.
Yeah, Scott Adams broke it down to like try to get to the bottom of it. And I was watching Coffee with Scott. He went through like both sides, and he's just like, both sides are just full of shit. And
Yeah.
there's something like, look, I'm not gonna like setting off as many nuclear bombs that we have. Can't be a good thing. All the pollution we do isn't a good thing. I mean, there's a great documentary called Manufactured Landscapes. And it's just like all the shit we've been sending to China with our recycling program. Fucking, they're just taking parts for what they can salvage, and then they just throw it everywhere. I
Oh,
mean, it's insane. So it's just I don't have the answers, but I can do my part. Go back to I can try to change my world. And I'm gonna try to do my best. I mean, yeah, I don't like plastic. I don't like the dependencies of plastic. I don't like a lot of that stuff. But man, it's hard to find something else better than plastic for what it does. But we have plastic all over the ocean. People just treat wherever they go like it's a dump because they don't want to take responsibility. They don't get that this is our planet. This is our home. This is where we live. We need to take care of it. Not
yeah.
because the planet's going to die, but because we're going to probably kill ourselves by doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's one side of it. Another side is, hey, maybe it works itself out and we just don't really understand. I mean, maybe the planet's alive and the climate's going to change because it's like, hey, there's too many fucking humans here. See you later. I don't know. I mean, I think the planet's a living organism personally. So, I don't, who knows? I mean, I don't have the answers, but like I said, all you can do at the end of the day is, control the way you react to things.
Yeah.
Try to make your world and everybody else's around you a better place.
Well said. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Like and one of the problems with climate change and is our dependency on oil, and they're like we have such an infrastructure set up to accommodate that it's almost prohibitively expensive to switch entirely, at least, to alternative energy sources. But because there's that financial incentive behind the oil industries, and so they're
Well,
just
it's not just that. It's just they don't really work. I mean, the best thing that we have is nuclear energy, and that's like the big conservative argument. And I'm not really sold on that, man. Like, I'm not sold on. It really bothers me. I mean, Rich points this out to me that look at how many nuclear power plants are in the largest source of fresh drinking water, the Great Lakes. And sure, maybe Fukushima is not going to happen there, but you know, dude, like all this idea of ROI on renewable energy. I mean, shit, like I'm going to try to get solar panels at my house. I'm going to hopefully I can do it and try to get off the grid. My buddy Andrew Miller's doing it out in Colorado. Like I'm for trying that, but man, it man, we don't know what the rate of return on that shit is, man. Like we don't know how long they're. I mean, right now they're so expensive. I know from buddies that work in the power fields about how little energy and how little money that these power plants produce. I know that large United States power companies are trying to switch just to transmission, because the transmission is, if you look at your electric bill in the United States, half your bill is getting the energy to your house.
Pardon?
Yeah, I mean, look at storage. There's not a lot of good battery sources for to store this energy. The least expensive time of the day to make energy is when people are least using it. When it comes to renewables, with certain things, especially wind. So we don't have very good storage for this stuff. So oil is still like our best option. And then, so how do we get oil? Well, we mine. Most of our energy comes from mining. I mean, most of our food comes from mining. We're mining soil. We're mining coal field, like coal. We're mining for oil. Or if I already said that, sorry. We're mining for pretty much everything. Like everything we do on this planet is mine. We go to Facebook. We mine data. I mean, it's humans have a very weird relationship with mining, and I don't really understand it, but I'm observing it, and I don't think it's a good thing. I mean, I think, you know, we're not. I don't know. We have to figure out new ways. I heard this guy talk about. He's kind of out there, Robert Anton Wilson. He's dead now, but he was talking about like we should try to have our energy sources in space. We should try to have it away from where we live, because a lot of the times it's toxic and it's not good for us. I mean,
Like mining asteroids or something like that?
no, but like maybe put solar panels in space or something like that, where the sun can always be on, and figure out a way to beam the energy to the planet. I don't
Oh,
know. I'm not a that's not my field of expertise. But if we could figure out a way to do that, I'd imagine that'd be better than. I mean, you look at economies, like most of Canada's economy is based on mining oil in the tar sands. I
yeah.
mean, oil is.
I live in like the I live in like the top place in Canada for that, in Fort McMurray, Alberta. It's a huge oil sands industry here. Like the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of people here work in that industry, or at least in industries that are, well, companies that support that industry. Like one of my last jobs was where I worked at Marks, and I sold people boots, and it was almost all of my customers when I worked there were dudes who were buying boots who were about to start jobs on site, who needed these boots that meet those regulations for there.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to do. And I think that it's funny because like Germany's shutting down their nuclear power plants, and they're trying to go everything to green oil, but they're getting most of their energy from Russia. Like they're getting Russia's oil.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, you can find it. I'm sure somebody's gonna call me a liar, but pretty sure that's what's going on. I mean, there's not. France is shutting down their nuclear power plants, and what are they gonna do? I mean, it's like we have these things that give us these first world luxuries, which is cheap energy, and most of our world revolves around cheap energy. But I think it's a very crazy thing. I mean, there's theories that the whole Trump Putin meetings are to try to control the price of oil, because basically oil needs to stay at a certain price so it's still profitable to mine for shale and to mine in the tar sands and all that stuff. And then our other alternative is we just go and we keep having now Blackwater go and kill third world people to get resources, or we go to different countries in Africa and devastate their economies and let children mine for stuff so we can have cell phones. So I mean, there's some very real world consequences to our lifestyles here,
Yeah.
and you just have to say, hey, I got a lucky roll of the dice, and thank God I'm here, and try to do your best to get away from those dependencies.
Well said.
But how long do you usually go, man? We're at like 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Oh, I go for as long as people want to go for.
Dude, I'll talk all night, so I don't know if that's a good thing. I mean, I don't.
Well, we can stop now if you want to, man. We've been.
Yeah, let's wrap it up here. It's getting late, man. It's 10:30. I'm trying to get the season's upon us, man. I gotta start waking up early.
Oh yeah.
But just want to say thanks for having me on, dude. Like it was a lot of fun to just let
Yeah.
me talk and um
Yeah, man. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for talking to me, and it'd be great to talk again too. I'm sure we will.
absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Well, cool. So, well, if people want to follow me, go to you can follow me on Twitter at Drew Sample. I just started tweeting again. Also check out my podcast at samplehour.com. I'm happy to announce that I just switched over to Coinbits app. So if you go to coinbitsapp.com/samplehour, you can actually support the show. I'm going to cancel Patreon, I think, because
Yeah.
I'm not really happy with, I don't know. I don't like Patreon. They seem to not have very good character. What's that?
With the whole like Sargon of Akkad thing.
No, Sargon's a douchebag. I don't really care about that. Mainly I just don't like the fact that I'm a big fan of the No Agenda podcast, and they have just kind of a system value for value. And Hotep Jesus launched a Coinbits app with one of his friends, and I think that's a good way to. I mean, Laura Loomer's on Coinbits app right now, and she's been banned from PayPal and everything too, just like Alex Jones.
Who's
So
that? I've never heard of her.
she's a Canadian like yourself. People say she's a white supremacist, but she's friends with Hotep Jesus, so clearly she doesn't have any issues with black people, at least not Hotep Jesus. So, but yeah, so she does some crazy stuff. She's kind of entertaining though. She's still on Instagram, but yeah. So I'm officially announcing it here. So support me on coinbitsapp.com/sample hour. Basically, it allows you to you can donate cash to me, and I will get Bitcoin. So I'm happy with that.
Okay. Cool. Send me links for all that stuff you mentioned, and I'll add them to the description for this video.
Holler. Well, thanks for everybody listening to my droning on. If
Yep.
you hate me, just send me some nasty posts on Facebook and Twitter. But if you want to say nice things too, I like nice things as well.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
appreciate everyone.
I'll just say all the things that I like to say at the end of my episodes here, and you already gave your plugs, but you can give any last words there too. So
Just thank you. Like I'm grateful to have this opportunity to come on here and talk. And it was cool that I posted this and I had some people that watched it. But yeah, man, it's yeah, just say thanks and yeah, thanks for having me on, man. So that's it. Anyone who wants to talk to me, I'm available. Follow me on Twitter, hit me up. I'm a real person. I like to talk to people. If I'm busy, I'll tell you I'm busy. But yeah, that's it.
cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for watching another episode of the Mindgasms podcast. And thanks to all of you who like and share this video, and to those of you who subscribe to my channel, and especially to those of you who support me on Patreon. I really appreciate that. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all. All right, keep having mindgasms, everyone. And adios until next time.
Cool.
All right.